Hello everybody, and welcome back for another video. Again, this week I've been working on the course, so apologies for not putting a bunch of videos out, but it's really for a good cause in my opinion. I'm trying to get this course to be as high quality as possible, you know, no stutters or any problems like that, just getting it edited and, you know, kind of flow very smoothly and not waste anybody who's viewing it, not wasting their time. And also I'm trying to pack in as much kind of useful information in as short of course as possible, but it's, you know, it keeps expanding at this point. I've had 2 of the videos done. It's going to start with a kind of 2 video series just about the theory, and then basically jump into practice about what I'm talking about, of understanding plus analysis. And I've also decided I'm gonna make a companion booklet for this course, which I think is kind of a cool idea. It's not necessarily going to be a chess book, but it's gonna, you know, it's not going to be mandatory, but it's going to be a very cheap book sold worldwide that the listener can follow the videos and kind of follow in sequence the videos and, you know, really write down their thoughts. And there is a direct connection between actually physically writing something down and memorizing it and processing it versus just watching it on a screen. So, you know, I'm really trying to make this thing to actually work and not just, you know, not just have lots of people view it. And I've also decided, this is just kind of an update video, as well as I'm going to show this puzzle here. I've also decided I'm going to release it once I get to 4,000 subscribers. So there's 2 reasons for that. It's because that'll kind of be a special number to release it as, and also it'll give me some more time to kind of, you know, sit for a day and think and edit if I forgot something. And I also need to type up this book. I have the outline in my notebook that I'm kind of following for making the videos, but also I want to process some of the positions and include them in the book too, so it can also be standalone. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. All right, so one of the videos will be a 5-position series that will give you analysis practice. And this will differ from just simple tactical puzzles, and that it'll kind of have real game scenarios that are not so clear cut. And this is a perfect example that I wanted to show, which I've been analyzing a lot of positions lately. I've been playing some blitz games just to try to get some, you know, unique positions that I understood, but I'm taking a break for that for now. And let's just jump into this position. So this is white to move. If you want to try to solve it, I would suggest that you pause the video now. But let's just jump in. Okay, so obviously, sorry, I have something stuck in my teeth there. Okay, so white is down a piece that you can see here. So your understanding would lead you to believe that white has to do something kind of drastic. He needs to find a way to either win a lot of material or mate the black king. Notice the activity of black's rook. It's completely over here, as well as the knight. So your understanding would lead you to believe that actually white in this position has an advantage, which sounds kind of crazy because he's a piece down. But the reason for that is, if you understand what I'm going to talk about in my course, then you'll see that this bishop is actually just a big pawn. It's not doing anything, and it's not actually protecting the king side. And the queen, the knight, and the rook are all facing towards the queen and the king. So this is how you can evaluate these positions objectively, because you know, if somebody when I first looked at this position, I did kind of go, okay, what's going on? You know, at first glance, and your first glances are a lot of times wrong based on your understanding or analysis. All right, so let's get into it. So what does white want to do? Obviously, he wants to win a lot of material or attack. Now, this leads us to the analysis part. So our understanding gives us an overall view, and our analysis leads us which moves to start looking at. And you need 2 things for that. You need visualization and calculation. So if you can't visualize it, then you won't be able to see it. You won't be able to calculate it ahead. And when you're practicing it, you don't necessarily have to visualize it. In order to improve that skill, you can actually move the pieces. So let's just start doing that here. So the first move really is knight takes, and that looks crazy at first, but there's 2 moves, and that's either queen takes, which calculating is queen check, and now the rook's controlling this G file, so the queen has to move and it's checkmate. So our basic tactics can lead us to rule that move out. The only move we have to evaluate really is either queen takes or pawn check, kind of a desperado check. But after the pawn takes, then the queen is left basically to take. So this is a real game scenario that kind of leads you to these messy calculations where you kind of have to keep going and going, and you're like, okay, what do I do now? How do I get out of this, and how can I evaluate it? It does get harder as you get deeper in your calculation, but I'm going to show some things here. Okay, so there's basically, you just have to take it step by step when you're visualizing it and when you're calculating it. This is why it's kind of a hard skill, and this is why, you know, studying necessarily complicated positions won't necessarily help you, but knowing basic tactics will, because as I showed earlier, if you know this pattern of where the queen is here, then you can immediately evaluate that queen check leads to a mate. And so that's exactly what I'm talking about. So I thought this was a good example of that. All right, so obviously we'll just do queen takes, and then there's a lot of moves here. So the correct move is knight back check, but you also have to look here, and you'd calculate that after queen check, king here, then there's really no more checks, and if queen comes here, then actually the bishop comes back because the queen protects it. So we can rule that out, and that leaves us with one move, which is knight to g5 check, and then there's quite a lot of moves. So you can see there's, at this point, there's check here and check there. So we'd have to evaluate both of them. But really, you want to look at the queen check first. And now there's, again, knight check or queen check even. But actually, queen check is a little stronger because it gets the queen in. And it could lead to some mate possibilities. Now, when you're evaluating a position in terms of calculation, especially when it comes to the queen, you always want to find these scenarios where you can get your queen back in the center near the king, depending on where the king is, of course. But especially if you can calculate some check or some, you know, some intermediate move that really keeps the attack going. And notice that in this specific position, black is still up a rook. You know, maybe, well, let's see, minus some, no, actually, so basically he's up a rook, but the activity, our understanding of activity leads us to see that he can keep checking and taking material. So queen takes, and then if the king moves over, then check. Whereas if the king comes here, then actually we get a mate. You'd see a mate in 3. Again, another pattern that you should have in your repertoire of basic patterns. And again, I just wanted to make this point. I think it's very important about you know, practicing long calculations. The most important thing is to kind of have an open mind and to see all the possibilities with a clean and organized thought process. And the second most important thing is to know these basic patterns so that when you are calculating, you'll find them. All right, so the end of this calculation is kind of messy. You'd have to stop, you know, stop your calculation at some point and just decide that after this, you know, you can win the queen with check if he comes there, and then just either take the queen or some other thing. And even if the king comes over, you can see that you get a checkmate, or at least just a check here. So there's a lot of possibilities. But at some point, you have to stop your calculation, these long ones, and just evaluate that you're winning or that it's good enough, and you can take a risk. And this is where kind of chance, you know, especially in tournament games, when things can get very complicated. This is kind of where chance comes into play in the game, where you can't really see the end of the line. But hopefully that makes some sense. I'm really thinking about these ideas. Maybe this video obviously is not going to be the best edited, but I really think that I'm trying to go deep into these ideas and get them out to you guys. If you have any questions or if you have any thoughts regarding as the course goes or what you'd like included, then please leave that in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the future. Have a good day. Bye.